Average Joe's Drive-In is proudly sponsored by the Maine Cannababes. The Cannababes are a charity group of pro-cannabis women from the state of Maine who are bringing worthy attention to various causes in the medical cannabis community. This year, they launched their very first Maine Cannababes Pinup Calendar, which they are taking pre-orders for as we speak. All the proceeds from the calendar are going to worthy charitable causes. If you are interested in purchasing one or finding out more about the Cannababes, you can go to their website, www.maincannababes.com, or find them on most major forms of social media like Facebook and Instagram. If you order a calendar and enter the code word Average Joe's Drive-In, you could win a chance to get an autographed picture of your favorite Maine Cannababe. Once again, put in the code word Average Joe's Drive-In for a chance to win an autographed picture of your favorite Maine Cannababe. Welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In, your weekly podcast of movies, music, games, and other things entertainment related. Now, your host, TJ Washburn. Hey everybody, welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In, episode 23. I'm your host, TJ Washburn, and this is going to be a review episode. I've got a couple weeks worth of stuff to catch up on. I've had a lot going on, so I hadn't had time to just do a review episode on top of the regular ones. So I'm catching up, and this will be the only episode for this week. I'm actually on vacation, but I had a little downtime due to the weather. So I figured great time to catch up on everything that's been going on that I have been watching for the 31 days of horror. I hope you guys are all doing well in whatever you are watching and hitting your goals for this month of awesomeness with the horror films, and I hope you guys are checking out stuff you've never seen before, revisiting some old favorites and doing all that. I know I love this time of month, and I have been having a blast. So let's get going, and up first, 1999's Bats.
Damn. What? Something touched my hand.
Dr. Casper, we need your help. There's an emergency.
What kind of emergency?
Here, you can see how large the neck wounds are.
This must be some kind of sick hoax.
It's not a hoax.
Well, then there is something very wrong here, gentlemen, because this sort of thing is not supposed to happen.
A biological experiment created them.
The government has been working on this project for over a decade.
What were you guys experimenting with?
Well, let's just say it was virus-based.
How could you? You knew what those things were capable of.
Now,
Put my bats anywhere in the world and they will feed.
Are you saying some kind of bat did this?
they've become more intelligent,
Perfect killing machines.
You don't say.
grown more aggressive,
They're trying to get into the truck!
learned to work together,
Oh my God! There's too many of them!
and they've developed one hell of an appetite.
Houston, we got a problem.
Bats.
It's gone.
No, they're just circling their prey.
Directed by Louis Morneau. It's a runtime of 91 minutes. Rated PG-13, starring Lou Diamond Phillips, Dina Meyer, Bob Gutton. The format I watched this on was DVD. The synopsis for the film. When a population of bats in a small Texas town starts attacking the unsuspecting citizens, Dr. Sheila Casper, Dina Meyer, a zoologist specializing in the species, is called in to investigate. With the help of her assistant and the local sheriff, Lou Diamond Phillips, strange details about the bats begin to emerge. It's discovered that they are the product of a government experiment gone awry. With people dying and the military threatening to take action, a solution must be found. I used to love this movie. I once owned it, but I hadn't seen it and had a copy of it in years. I stopped at a yard sale the other day and found a copy for $1 on DVD, so I couldn't pass it up. I'm proud to say it's once again amongst my collection of films. First of all, Bats isn't a great movie. It's cheesy, the acting is so-so, the script isn't all that great, but I do love it. For all its faults, it never fails to entertain the hell out of me. It's proof a movie doesn't need to be Oscar caliber to be enjoyable. The effects are pretty decent. I'll give it that. It harkens back to classic 50s monster movies in a lot of ways. I think that's a big reason I enjoy it so much. It has that cheesy, fun vibe. The film had a decent budget, and it shows. It's not terribly gory, but there is a lot of action. So the film doesn't bog down. It moves along at a brisk pace. Despite what I'm going to give this film for a rating, I would recommend it to anyone who likes cheesy monster movies, because that's what this film is at heart. If you've never watched it and you like those type of films, then do yourself a favor and find a copy. My rating was a 4 out of 10. IMDb rating, 3.7 out of 10. Next up for me was a film that I caught on Netflix called Beyond the Gates from 2016.
Hey, what if he's okay?
What do you mean?
I mean, not dead.
It's been 7 months. If he's out there, it's not our problem anymore.
Look at this place. Your dad really did a good job keeping it up, huh?
Yeah, well, not much could pull him out of here.
Do you have Dad's keys to the office?
What do you think's back there?
Guess we'll find out.
This is momentous.
Shut up.
Welcome, curious viewers.
We found this like weird, probably banned VCR game. It's like a board game, you know, but you gotta watch it.
Obtaining the 4 keys allows passage beyond the gates. Only there can your father's soul be saved.
Did you just hear that?
Where did you say you found this again?
Hey, did you try to get into the house last night?
Why? Did someone try and break in?
I felt like somebody was watching us.
Look, maybe you need to take a break from this for a while.
We think our father bought this from your store. What if we just stopped?
I'm not gonna stop until we find Dad.
And I suggest you play the game.
Where the hell did this come from?
Find your father. Take the final key. And become one with your new reality.
That lady was smoking hot. I think I want it.
Sure is now.
This film was directed by Jackson Stewart, has a runtime of 84 minutes, not rated, starring Graham Skipper, Chase Williamson, and Bree Grant. I watched this again on Netflix. The synopsis: 2 estranged brothers reunite at their missing father's video store and find a VCR board game dubbed Beyond the Gates that holds a connection to their father's disappearance. I've had this one hanging in my queue on Netflix for a while. It looked interesting, but I wasn't sure it was going to be worth a watch. Truthfully, I only checked it out because it had a fairly short runtime and I wanted something short to watch. I wasn't in the mood for anything I'd seen or a longer movie, as I'd just watched The Changeling, which is almost 2 hours long, and I will be talking about that very soon. This film takes a bit to get going, but once it does, it starts to take off and gets pretty decent. It's a very well done, low budget film. It has a very 80s vibe to it in both the score and the story. You can tell it was made by someone who grew up in that time period and was a fan of the genre, especially the direct-to-video horror so much of us loved. Also, the gore is pretty decent. It's not overdone and used to good effect. Also, there's a nice touch of having Barbara Crampton being in this. You'll recognize her if you're an 80s horror fan. While I won't say this is a great film, it's a lot better than the random stuff you come across on Netflix for the most part. For a low-budget film, it delivers fairly well. It does suffer a bit from the budget, and there was something about the wash on the film that threw me off a bit. There was a dull sheen that didn't look quite right. I realized it was probably a budget thing and was done to give the film a less digital video look, which happens a lot with lower budget films. It was good enough that I'll probably revisit it down the road at some point. If you're a fan of 80s direct-to-video style horror, it is definitely worth a watch. And I would be really interested to hear what others think of this one. So if you do watch this, please come visit my Average Joe's Facebook page, facebook.com/Average Joe's Drive-In Podcast, and let me know what you think. I'm going to give this one a 5.5 out of 10. The IMDb rating for this one is a 5.2 out of 10. Up next, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch from 1982.
You don't really know much about Halloween. Halloween. The barriers will be down between the real and the unreal. And the dead might be looking in. The last great one took place 3,000 years ago when the hills ran red. Halloween.
You happen to know anything about this Cochran?
All I can tell you, mister, is watch out.
He's watching you, friend, I guarantee you that.
Hey, Mr. Cochran, just what is the final process? Fellas, I was just begging.
Witchcraft. To us, it is a way of controlling our environment.
Hey!
Where are they taking her?
They're taking her to the factory.
I want a mask. Can I have a mask?
Just what I had in mind for you, little buddy. Why, Cochran? Why? Do I need a reason?
I've got nothing here to indicate there was ever a body at all.
Operator, this is an emergency.
I do love a good joke, and this is the best ever. The joke on the children. I'm glad you'll be able to watch it.
You've got to believe me.
They're going to kill us. All of us.
Stop it!
The world's going to change tonight, Doctor. Happy Halloween.
Stop it!
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. The night no one comes home.
This film was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. It has a runtime of 99 minutes. It's rated R. Stars Tom Atkins, Stacey Nelkin, and Dan O'Herlihy. I watched this one on DVD. Synopsis. Hospital emergency room, Dr. Dan Chalice, Tom Atkins, and Ellie Grimbridge, Stacey Nelkin, the daughter of a murder victim, uncover a terrible plot by a small-town mask maker, Colonel Cochran, Dan O'Herlihy, a madman who's planning a Halloween mass murder utilizing an ancient Celtic ritual. The ritual involves a boulder stolen from Stonehenge, the use of silver shamrock mask, and a triggering device contained in a television commercial, all designed to kill millions of children. This was only my second watching of this film. It's been so long since I saw it that I don't even remember when I first watched it. I vaguely remembered a few scenes here and there, but not much else. Having already put down Halloween 1 and 2 for my 31 Days of Horror-thon, I needed to see this one again. Halloween 3 seems to have a very love-hate relationship with fans for a few reasons. It has nothing to do with Michael Myers, and a lot of people don't seem to enjoy the film in general. So going in with a nearly blank memory about it, I was curious as to which I would fall in. I'm glad to say I enjoyed it. Tom Akins was Tom Akins. And there's that right there gives the film points. The story itself was wholly original and it had some decent effects. The score screamed trademark John Carpenter, and the camera work was again on point. And the Silver Shamrock jingle is now once again etched in my brain, as it was the last time I saw it. I had honestly forgotten it, but as soon as it started back up, I began to hum it like I'd never forgotten. That right there is saying something about how catchy it is. That being said, this film has some issues. For starters, it's way too long and takes forever to really get going. Much like John Carpenter's The Fog, I also found this film to be a bit disjointed. It feels like it's missing a little something, but I'm not really sure what that is. Personally, I also didn't care for the lead female character that much. She seemed way too wooden. But don't get me wrong, I still liked it and will surely be watching it again, but it does have its flaws. Give it a watch if you've been avoiding it from poor reviews. It's worth a view. Make your own decision if it's good or not. My rating for this was a 5.5 out of 10. IMDb rating was a 4.7 out of 10. Next up was an awesome film that I enjoyed the hell out of. And I have no idea why I've never seen this one before. And that was 1980's The Changeling.
Within this old house live two residents. One of them is John Russell, composer, professor. The other has been dead for over 70 years.
Claire, I'd like to talk to you about the house.
Did you die in this house? How did you die?
Whatever it is, it's trying desperately to communicate. What is it in that house, Claire? What is it doing? Why is it trying to reach me?
It's a hand.
Senator, I'm John Russell. I'm living in your house. Senator, look! Look, I want to show him that! You've got something of the senator's. He wants it back.
John?
What is it you want? What do you want from me?
Many films will frighten you, but only a few can really terrify you. The Changeling, an experience beyond total fear.
This film was directed by Peter Medak, as a runtime of 170 minutes, rated R, starring George C. Scott, Trish Van Devere, and Melvin Douglas. I watched this one on DVD. Huge shout out to my friend Rob for sending me this one, as we had been talking about it for years on the horror group I'm part of, and I just never gotten around to watching it. And he was finally just like, dude, you need to watch this. I'm sending you a copy. So thank you very much, Rob. The synopsis for this film. Composer John Russell, George C. Scott, is vacationing with his family when a car accident kills his wife and daughter. Distraught with grief, Russell leaves his home in New York City for a giant, secluded house near Seattle. Soon, Russell starts to feel the presence of a ghost, a boy who drowned in the bathtub there. Russell seeks the assistance of Claire Norman, Trish Van Devere, who led him to the house initially, in uncovering the secrets of the boy's death. Again, I've never seen this movie before, but I have been aware of it for years. I did watch the remake once when it came out, and I didn't care for it at all. So I never bothered with the original, even though it got high praise from my horror-loving friends. My friend, so I have been saving this one again, as my friend Rob had sent this one to me for this month specifically. So let's, let's start with that. What an amazing movie. A slow burn ghost story done right. I'm not a huge haunted house ghost story fan per se, but occasionally they connect with me and I enjoy. But it's a rare occasion that I enjoy one like I did this. My only complaint, and it's not even a complaint, is the opening 30 minutes or so did drag a little. But in hindsight, it was setting things in motion. At nearly 2 hours long, this film kept me in its grip and didn't make me want to fall asleep, which happens a lot with these type of stories. Well written, well acted, and well directed. Oh yeah, and the score is also on point. Absolutely fantastic score. The biggest thing that cemented this one for me was the last 20 minutes. That's where about 8 out of 10 times haunted house ghost story films end up losing me. Not here. If you've never seen this one, please go and find it. I know I'm kicking myself in the ass for not watching it sooner. It may not be for everyone, but if someone like me who doesn't even care for this subgenre can love it as much as I did, there is a good chance you will as well. The IMDb rating for this, my rating for this, 9 out of 10. IMDb rating, 7.3 out of 10. So quite a bit higher than the IMDb rating. But I absolutely adored it, so it's definitely worth it. Also, I want to bring these 3 films up real quick. I'm not going to review them, but if you want to hear a review for them, go and check out the Friday the 13th episode. I also watched Friday the 13th Part 2, 4, and 6, and did a review and breakdown and talked about those films with my buddy Pete on the Friday the 13th episode of Average Joe's Drive-In. So go and check that out. And I also put up some reviews on the page. But the reason I wanted to mention that is because those films tie into this next one. And while it isn't an official Friday the 13th movie, it's damn good. And if you're a fan of the Friday the 13th movies, you need to check it out. And that is 2017's Never Hike Alone.
Hey guys, it's day 12, and a beautiful one at that. So today's mission, find the lake. This train's looking a little treacherous, but I just have to make my way. Nothing's stopping me. All right, I'll check in with you guys later. Kyle, out.
The film was directed by Vincent DiSanti. Runtime of 53 minutes. It's not rated. Stars Drew Leahy, Vincent DiSanti, Katie Schwartz, and also has an appearance by Tommy Jarvis himself, Tom Matthews. I watched this on YouTube. You can watch the full film on YouTube. So just go in and type in Never Hike Alone, and it should come up. There's 2 versions. There's like a 20-something minute version and a 53. You're going to want to watch the 53-minute version. The synopsis. A hiker's survival skills are put to the test when he stumbles upon the remains of an old abandoned camp and discovers its long, dark secrets. This short Friday the 13th fan film fits into my franchise theme for the 31 Days of Horror, but also doesn't as it's a fan film. A friend of mine, Sean Jennings, so thanks to Sean, mentioned it to me the other day, and interest was piqued, so I decided to check it out. I was actually really impressed with this one. For what I'm assuming was a fairly low budget film, everything looked great. I liked the premise, and it has a great cameo appearance by Tom Matthews, reprising his role as Tommy Jarvis. So what's not to like about that? If you are a fan of the Friday the 13th franchise, this is well worth checking out. It was obviously done by people who love and respect the franchise. Again, it's up for free on YouTube. I am including the link to it in this review. So if you head on over to the Average Joe's Drive-In Facebook page, if you don't want to search YouTube, it will be there in the review. It clocks in at just over 50 minutes and moves along quickly. My rating for this was a 7 out of 10. The IMDb rating for this was an 8 out of 10. Next up is 1988's Return of the Living Dead 2.
A deadly experiment. A freak accident. A secret that will be carried to the grave as the horror classic is reborn. Return of the Living Dead, Part 2. Jesse will be the first to know. Billy will be the first to go.
We've got to get out of here. Get to a phone.
7 of the living against an army of the dead, starved for life. Return of the Living Dead, Part 2. Just when you thought it was safe to be dead.
This film is directed by Ken Wiederhorn, has a runtime of 89 minutes, it's rated R, stars James Karen, Tom Matthews, and Michael Kenworthy. I watched this one on DVD. I didn't watch Return of the Living Dead 1 because I have seen that film so many times and I enjoy it, and I watched it last year, my 31 Days of Horror-thon, but I hadn't seen this one in a while, so still falls into the franchise theme for this month. So, the synopsis, a boy, Michael Kenworthy and his friends free something evil from a canister fallen off an army truck. The original Return of the Living Dead is right up there as one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It was a perfect blend of horror, comedy, and camp. A perfect blend of the three. It was lightning in a bottle, and so Return of the Living Dead 2 has always been one that I've been on the fence with. It's grown on me over the years, but I remember disliking it to the point of probably hating it quite a bit when I first watched it. I felt it tried too damn hard and didn't capture the magic to the first film. Even feeling that way, there's been something that draws me back to it every 3 or 4 years. Each time I watch it, I seem to feel like, well, maybe it isn't that bad. Much like the Grinch, upon each viewing, my horror heart seems to grow 2 sizes. While I still don't love this film, I will say I enjoy it quite a bit. It's not the first movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it does have some of its own weird charms in a cheesy, almost bad mystery science theater sort of way. It tries to be too funny and at times feels really forced. The effects are middle of the road, and while I love the score of the first film, this one kind of annoys me, but there's still something there. If you've watched the first one, enjoyed it, but never watched this one, at least give it a chance, but don't go in with real high expectations. My rating for this was a 5 out of 10. The IMDb rating is 5.8 out of 10. Which leads us into the next film in the series, 1993's Return of the Living Dead Part 3.
They vowed to stay together forever, that their love would never die. But their pledge remained untested.
Oh, cool. No problem. I'm the boss's son, remember?
Until they went looking for a thrill and stumbled on the chilling fact.
Let's proceed.
That even the dead can go on living.
He came back to life. We gotta get out of here.
And tonight, fate will put their promises to the test.
Oh my God.
Now that she's dead, he's frightened to live without her. But bringing her back is terrifying.
Oh, God, Kurt, that was incredible. Let's do it again.
Contain it, damn it! Seal it off now!
Is that what I'm gonna become?
These poor dead bastards crave brains. She didn't live. She gave you something bad.
I feel so hungry.
Never find you down here. What have you done?
If she attacks him, he becomes like her.
I just get a little confused sometimes.
Love never dies.
The film was directed by Brian Usna, has a runtime of 97 minutes, it's rated R, stars Kent McCord, James T. Callahan, Sarah Douglas, and the beautiful Melinda Clarke, as well as J. Trevor Edmond. I watched this one on Blu-ray. Synopsis. Having recently witnessed the horrific results of a top-secret project to bring the dead back to life, a distraught youth performs the operation on his girlfriend after she's killed in a motorcycle accident. It's been a while since I've watched this one. Again, it used to be in my collection years ago, but I no longer had. I always liked the film a lot, so needless to say, I was excited that Vestron Video put out a collector's edition on Blu-ray. And because of the awesomeness of my local Bull Moose music store, with points, I was able to pick it out for only a few dollars. The special features are solid. There's a lot of good behind-the-scenes interviews, and the transfer looks great. Vestron did an amazing job putting this one together. If you're a fan of the movie, it's well worth picking up for the special features alone. With that being said, wow, this movie has not held up well for me. There's still a lot of great moments and some solid effects, but holy shit is it slow and kind of boring. I struggled to get through it. I'm not sure if my memory of the film is skewered, but I don't remember it being like that the handful of times I watched it back in the day. That really, really bums me out. It sucks when you revisit a film you once enjoyed after many years and the magic's no longer there. It's definitely worth the watch. Maybe I'm being too hard on it. My perceived notion of it being way more awesome than it was may be part of the reason I'm giving it a lower rating. Don't take my word for it. Watch it for yourself. My rating on this is 4.10. IMDb rating's a lot higher, 5.9 out of 10. Again, I'm going to have to give this one another watch. Maybe it just was the mood, or I don't know. But like I said, I used to really enjoy this movie years ago. And years ago, my rating probably would have been closer with the IMDb rating. But again, upon rewatch, it just the magic just was not there for this one, which really bums me out to say that. because, again, I absolutely adored this film when I watched it years ago. So, moving on, I watched another Stephen King film, and one of my favorites, and it's one of my favorite werewolf films of all time, and that is 1985's Silver Bullet.
It began in May, and every month after that, whenever the moon was full, it happened again. And again.
What was that? It's over there. Point that at me.
Nobody knew who or what was responsible.
Come on.
They only knew it had to be stopped. Now, from the master of mystery and suspense, Stephen King's Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet, the last glimmering hope.
The film was directed by Daniel Addis, has a 95-minute runtime. It's rated R, stars Gary Busey, Everett McGill, and Corey Haim. And I watched this on DVD. Synopsis: when a series of unexplained murders occurs in the normally quiet town of Tarker's Mill, the residents decide to hunt down the killer. However, many of these vigilantes end up dead, and those who don't are no closer to finding the assailant. But when a young wheelchair-using boy named Marty, played by Corey Haim, encounters a werewolf one night, the pieces begin to come together. Along with his sister and Uncle Red, played by Gary Busey, Marty begins a mission to capture the werewolf once and for all. Again, Silver Bullet is one of my favorite werewolf movies of all time. I would place it only behind The Howling American Werewolf in London and Dog Soldiers. While the film has some issues and the werewolf itself looks pretty cheesy, the film is solid. I love the acting. The brother and sister dynamic between Marty and Jane is perfect, as well as the great chemistry between Marty and Uncle Red. Silver Bullet's one of those films I can go back to every few years and never get bored of. It's also right up there as one of my personal favorite Stephen King adaptations. If I want dirty and grimy, I go with The Howling. If I want fast-paced and action, I go with Dog Soldiers. If I want amazing effects and cerebral, I go with American Werewolf in London. When I am in the mood for something a little less serious but not too comedic, Silver Bullet's my go-to werewolf film. My rating for this is a 6.5 out of 10. The IMDb rating is 6.4 out of 10. So pretty damn close. And the last film I'm going to talk about on this review episode is 2007's Trick or Treat.
During the spookiest time of the year, there are a few guidelines all ghosts and goblins should follow. Always stay on sidewalks. Never go to a stranger's house. And never go out alone.
This is the one night that all sorts of things roam free. Sorry. All these these traditions.
Wait.
What?
You're supposed to keep it lit.
Why?
Ain't you tradition? Putting on costumes,
I look like I'm 5. You look great. What do we do now? We meet our dates.
jack-o'-lanterns.
Why are we here? To pay our respects to the dead?
The Halloween school bus massacre.
They started to protect us, but
What in God's name are you doing down there? Hiding bodies?
nowadays, no one really cares.
This one's still lit.
What is that?
It's them.
Oh my God.
Look at me. It's not a trick. It's real.
Tonight is about respecting the customs, not breaking them.
The film was directed by Michael Dougherty, has a runtime of 82 minutes, rated R, stars Anna Paquin, Brian Cox, and Dylan Baker. I watched this on DVD. The synopsis for this film: interwoven stories demonstrate that some traditions are best not forgotten as the residents, Anna Paquin, Brian Cox, and Dylan Baker, of a small town face real ghosts and goblins on Halloween. Tales of terror reveal the consequences of extinguishing a jack-o'-lantern before midnight in a grumpy hermit's encounter with a sinister trick-or-treater. I've known about this film since it first came out 10 years ago. I've always wanted to watch it, but for some reason or the other, I never did. It wasn't until a few weeks ago when I was listening to an older episode of The Faculty of Horror, and they were breaking it down, that I was convinced I needed to watch this damn movie already. Trick or Treat's an anthology-style horror film in the vein of Creepshow. There are 5 individual segments joined together by a wraparound story. Each one focuses on different characters who at random points cross paths. Overall, I really enjoyed this one. It's fun, and I like the premise behind each story. The way the film plays out, some of it doesn't make sense until you move further along. As you do, it begins to unravel the mystery behind different aspects of the story. I don't want to mention any of the segments with descriptions because I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't seen the film yet. The effects are well done. I like the acting and the stories. The short runtime also helps it a lot. It moves along quickly, and it never feels like it's bogged down or dragging. If you want a well-done Halloween horror movie, this is a good one to watch. And I would recommend, if you haven't seen this one, and you like gore, and you like well-done films, throw this one on Halloween night after the kiddies have all gone to bed, and enjoy this one, because it's really fun. I was really surprised, and I'm sure I have this gut feeling that I am going to like this one more and more as I watch it. It just has like that feel to it, that it's one of those films that's just going to keep growing on you, and your love for it will just, I don't know. I don't get that way with too many films, but this one I just feel that way. My rating for this is 7 out of 10. The IMDb rating on this one is 6.8 out of 10. So go check it out. Thank you, everybody, for supporting the show. Please go check out my awesome sponsors, the Maine Cannababes, at www.mainecannababes.com. They have all kinds of cool stuff going on. Make sure to support them, buy some merch. And also, in the note section, when you place your order, write Average Joe's Drive-In for a chance to win an autographed picture of your favorite Maine Cannababe. Coming up, I have my friend Shane Grant, great director, whose new film, Sleep Eaters, his new feature-length film, Sleep Eaters, is coming out November 17th. He will be on next Monday to talk with me a little bit about that. And also, to close out, 31 Days of Horror. Very much looking forward to talk to Shane. He was on the show a while back, and we haven't had a chance to talk on the show for a while, so it's going to be really fun to have him back in. I've also got Gary Porter from the band, and one of my old former bandmates, actually, coming on the show to talk about his new band, The Struggle Within, and we're going to talk about some other stuff. That should be really fun. I've also got some more guests that I'm just trying to lock the dates down on, and I will be having them on very soon as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming up, and I really look forward to talking to all the guests. At some point, I'm not sure if it's going to be right as the 31 Days of Horror wraps up, but I will be doing a final review episode for whatever I finish watching up this week. And I am on vacation, so like I said, my viewing is going to be very close to getting all 31 films in. I'm hoping I can get a few more in. I just happen to have a day off today because the weather is really shitty, and I got to stay inside because there's nothing I can really do. So I'm going to catch up on some films today, and hopefully a few more as the week progresses. So, look for that episode to possibly come out on Halloween. Not 100% guaranteeing that, but I'm going to try to get it wrapped up so it actually comes out before the end of the month. Other than that, thank you guys so much for all the support, and I really appreciate everybody that's been tuning in and telling their friends about the show, seeing the show continually growing, and more people, talking about the show and interacting has been great. Always feel free to shoot me a message on the Average Joe's Drive-In Facebook page. Chat on the wall when I post reviews up, anything like that. And please spread the word. If you enjoy the show, tell your friends about it, because that's the best way for the show to get out there, and I want it to be an organic thing, and I'm really glad there's been such a great response to everything going on. Also, I want to thank Will Hesketh and the other folks that put on the Pine State Comic-Con this past weekend. I had an absolute blast there, getting chat with a lot of my friends, and I picked up a couple cool things there, and it was a good time. And I look forward to seeing that con as it grows and builds. This was the first year, so there's always a few bugs to work out, but it was a great time, and they did a pretty good job putting it on. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it, grows in the coming years. So once again, you have been listening to Average Joe's Drive-In, and I am your host, TJ Washburn. I will see you sexy animals on the flip side.